Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today, we're diving into a really powerful story about, well, true medical dedication. But we aren't just looking at some standard clinical case here. Instead, we're going to map out the incredible, far-reaching ripple effect of just one solitary act of empathy. It's the kind of story that honestly elevates our understanding of medicine. It shifts the lens from a purely transactional healthcare interaction, to a truly transformational human connection.
So it begs the question, can one single decision actually echo across generations? I know, it sounds kind of like a deep philosophical prompt, right? But we are going to explore this exact question by breaking down an incredibly touching story. We've got a young patient in desperate need, a deeply dedicated doctor, and this profound intervention that goes way, way beyond the sterile walls of the operating room. We're literally tracing the anatomy of a promise, from the very first moment of total despair all the way to a triumphant, multi-generational impact.
All right, let's jump right in. Section 1. The medical barrier, setting the stage.
Okay, picture this. Our story unfolds in a small town, and there's this doctor who's renowned for his immense kindness. But his reputation is put to the ultimate test when a young girl comes in facing a severe physical need. She's got a really serious leg condition and can barely walk. But right away, they hit a massive roadblock, a strict financial limitation. Her father is just carrying this heavy, heavy burden, knowing they simply cannot afford the expensive treatment she desperately needs. It's that classic, heartbreaking wall we see so often, right? Where financial inability stands squarely in the way of vital health.
Which brings us to Section 2, the intervention, beyond the clinical.
So after carefully examining the young girl, the doctor makes a profound commitment. He looks at the father and says, "Don't worry, I will do everything I can to help your daughter." And wow, this is a massive turning point. This powerful promise right here is where the narrative fundamentally shifts. We aren't just looking at a story about a medical financial barrier anymore. We've transitioned into a story of true human partnership. The doctor isn't just handing them a bill or turning them away. He's literally taking their immense burden onto his own shoulders.
Now the real work begins in Section 3, the uphill battle, physical and mental recovery.
True to his word, the doctor and his team work tirelessly and, thankfully, perform a successful surgery on the girl's leg. And anyone who's been through a major medical event knows this all too well, the true test actually starts after you leave the operating room. Step 1, the surgery, was done. But Step 2 meant weeks of exhausting, grueling therapy. And Step 3, having to practice walking all over again. It wasn't a magic wand situation. It was a prolonged, painful, incredibly steep uphill battle just to reclaim her mobility.
And because that battle was so relentlessly hard, there were definitely days when she felt like just throwing in the towel entirely. But on her darkest days, the doctor provided this absolutely vital emotional scaffolding. He'd tell her, keep believing in yourself. Every small step is progress. He was always there cheering her on. And I think this shows us something crucial. In medicine, mental resilience and emotional support are just as critical to healing as the actual physical therapy. He was treating her mind and her spirit, not just the muscles in her leg.
So, months pass. Slowly, day by day, her condition improves. And then, one morning, the impossible actually becomes reality. She walks into the hospital completely unsupported, just smiling from ear to ear. It's a real game changer. This incredible milestone was achieved through her sheer perseverance, paired with the doctor's continuous, unwavering encouragement.
When she finally sees the doctor, tears fill her eyes as she tells him, "Doctor, you changed my life. Thank you for giving me a second chance." And man, her heartfelt gratitude marks the absolute end of her agonizing physical struggle. She hasn't just reclaimed her mobility, right? She's reclaimed her entire life. It is such an incredibly emotional payoff to that promise the doctor made to her worried father all those months ago.
When she thanks him, he just smiles and replies, "The real success is not the surgery. The real success is seeing you achieve your dreams." He brushes right past the clinical victory. To him, fixing a leg was just the mechanics of his job. His true purpose, the actual success of the whole shebang, was restoring a young girl's future so she could go out into the world and chase those dreams.
Which brings us to the final act of our explainer, Section 4, the chain of hope, a multi-generational impact.
If we jump forward in time, we can really see the full scope of her transformation. Look at this trajectory. It started with a devastating initial leg injury, moved to a generous intervention, and was followed by her independent steps to recovery. But look at the final outcome here, her return as a professional physical therapist. The young patient who literally couldn't walk has now dedicated her life to helping others heal from their own injuries. She didn't just stumble into any career, she grew up to become a physical therapist because she was directly inspired by the doctor's kindness. Years later, she actually returns to the exact same hospital where her journey began, specifically to share with the doctor the sheer number of lives she has personally helped heal. And it's in that moment that the doctor realizes his single act of initial charity didn't just heal one girl, it multiplied. It created this lasting chain of hope spanning across generations of new patients.
Our source material perfectly distills this multi-year journey down into one profound moral truth. A single act of kindness can change a life forever. It's simple, but it's undeniably powerful. A doctor's promise saved a leg, which in turn saved a girl's future, which then went on to save and heal countless others in the community. It's like throwing a single pebble into a pond and watching those ripples just go on and on.
So to wrap up our explainer, I want to leave you with a direct challenge. Whose life will your kindness change today? Knowing the anatomy of a promise, knowing how a single act of empathy can ripple out to affect countless others for years to come, what chain of hope will you start? Thank you so much for joining me today, and I really hope this inspires your next step forward.